welcome everyone to the PYRESWAP show. And today, today the producer had this brilliant idea that we should go full blue, So we're doubling down on the blue. It's just a blue theme. We might start variegating the lights in this studio day to day. And can you guys hear me in general chat? Can you guys hear me? Can you guys? Am I audible there? Yeah. All right, fantastic. Yeah, can you guys hear me? Anyways, yes, very blue. We're very blue today. And that's great to hear. And anyways, guys, I have great news, and it literally feels like okay. First of all, I can literally feel my ab muscles, like I have just been like tense for like weeks. In fact, we did the calculation, probably like 10 weeks. We now have effectively a consistent trickle of content on our short form, and we just posted. It posted an hour ago, and there was an error, and the error was this. And I'm going to use blue marker today, too, just to stay on fucking brand. It was going to be top 5 cities, right? Top 5 cities for hecto-millionaires. By the way, you guys, and soon PYRESWAP will be in the top 5 cities for hecto-millionaires. Do you guys know what a hecto-millionaire is? Does anyone know what this prefix is? Hecto-millionaire? Does anybody know what that means? No. Okay, Odin, it means 100 million plus. And you might think, isn't that centimillion? And it's not. Centa as a prefix means 1/100th. Hecto means times 100. Does that make sense to you guys? Are you guys aware of this? This is a common misconception. But anyways, billionaires get ranked and tracked all over the place. And hectomillionaires kind of matter just as much, because arguably there's no real quality of life difference between a hectomillionaire and a billionaire. Point being, though, we did this post and it was like this. It was like 5 was Beijing, right? And 4 was London. And of course 3, 2, and 1 were all in the United States. And 3 was Los Angeles. 3 was LA. 2 was the Bay Area, which I was right, San Francisco. And 1 was New York City. Make sense, you guys? And hilariously, and I'm not ragging anybody, there was 2 videos getting made at the same time, and the video footage they used for New York City was actually that of the Apple iPhone. So like, if you watch the video, it was like, you know, San Francisco, it shows the trolley, and Beijing, it shows like Tiananmen Square for some reason. And anyways, for New York City, the wrong element got used, and it was like the Apple iPhone. And I was like, hey, you made an error, but it's okay because this is the first day. And he's like, no, delete them all, I'm going to revise. Anyways, yeah, now, so we just reposted them now. We already have the second post lined up. We should have a trickle of these happening now all the time, which is great, because this now means we have daily AGAs. Does that make sense to you guys? Do you guys know what I mean? It's the smallest one, but the fact of the matter is that I think within a week we might have 2 other mechanisms happening at the same time. So within 7 days, legitimately from this moment, we're just going to start compounding marketing momentum. Does that make sense? We are now finally compounding marketing momentum, and the reason why this matters so much is because PYRESWAP as a project will not succeed if it bottlenecks around me doing things. Does that make sense? Do you guys know that there's 4 Discord servers associated with the GPSC so far? 4 so far. It's only going to grow as we add more chains. Are you guys aware of that? So there's 4 Discord servers so far. Like, legitimately, the workload in front of me is getting out of the project's way. Does that make sense? Because eventually there'll be bannerets and quartets and other types of, I guess you could say, cultural locuses, and it's not going to involve around there being a single central founder as the project leader. Because if that were the case, we would never really truly achieve decentralization. Does that make sense to you guys? Do you guys get it? Like, Satoshi Nakamoto disappearing was arguably useful for Bitcoin's like decentral growth. Does that make sense to you guys? You know, now they have you got your Michael Saylors, and you got your Pomplianos and what have you, right? And these Saifedean, you got your Robert Breedlove. But the fact of the matter is that yeah, like you want like more leadership figures to kind of like spontaneously arrive. So the point being is, I talked about this yesterday. Today's Wisdom Wednesday, by the way. Today's Wisdom Wednesday, and what a crazy week it's been. But I was talking about this yesterday as well. There's really 4 systems that every business model needs, and administration, 2 is sales, 3 is fulfillment, and 4, last but not least, is marketing. Now, these 4 things have to be systemized. They have to be built of systems. Now, administration, this is arguably the Century Circus. Does that make sense? Like the Century Circus functions as the admin system for PYRESWAP, right? Sales and fulfillment are both kind of fulfilled by the fucking DEX and the DApp itself. Like the way things operate on the actual mega DApp, right? Like they're actually all handled by themselves, right? I want you guys to know, like, I rarely, I think maybe once a month these days, do I personally click Transpire Epoch. Does that make sense? Other people are now incentivized to do it. Make sense? So the goal with these other things is that other people need to be incentivized in order to do it. Does that make sense? So now, marketing, it took so long to get this to that point, but like, I needed to be laser focused, and I still need to a little bit, just for a little bit while longer. I need to be laser focused on marketing happening so that we always have new awareness being generated every day. Does that make sense to you guys? Does that make sense? So I want you guys to know, like legitimately, I can feel my stomach like so tense because I have over 19 DMs. I have 19 different DMs or people, and there's like some of them have dozens of notifications, and I haven't gotten to them yet. And it's because I still have to be laser focused on making sure that the marketing momentum keeps rolling forward, and it rolls forward without me being a bottleneck in the process. Does that make sense to you guys? Like anything that where like one person's required, yeah, that's not decentralization. Does that make sense to you guys? Right? So like I have to be there during the design process, but during the operations process, I should not be. Do you guys understand? Because that's what will scale this project to multi-billions, to be clear. And I know that right now, you might be looking at the price charts and thinking that's dismal, and that's utopian, and that's delusional. But no, it's not. It's not. It's not. Like, legitimately, like, I've been talking about the exact same thing since June 17th. So 5 months and 3 days now. Okay? Yeah, exactly. The project can't die again. For real, the project can't die. You can actually see that now for yourself. The whole goal here with marketing is we want our number of entrants to be greater than our number of exiters. So on Sunday, we had somebody sell. Exactly, Odin, exactly. Because, Odin, I want you to know something. And I say this a lot. I want PYRESWAP to be the project that keeps Phantom Opera alive. Does that make sense? Because there isn't going to be a foundation supporting it anymore, right? So the only thing that's going to keep Phantom Opera alive is if enough validators believe there's enough demand for the gas token to keep validating. Does that make sense to you guys? So the good news is Phantom Opera can also ascend to being leaderless. But PYRESWAP would be what causes it to still survive while being leaderless. Because a lot of blockchains, when they lose their leader, they don't survive anymore. Does that make sense to you guys? So I really do want to hit that target. In order for me to hit that target, or should I say in order for us to hit that target, the amount of entrants, meaning people, has to be greater than the number of exiters. And I know that even now to this day, maybe once a week you'll see somebody just like sell everything because they're just like, they're either freaked out, they don't see me enough in chat, they don't, I don't know, whatever they're looking for, they either sell it to go buy something else, or they sell because they're scared, or they sell because they're bored, right? In order for all of them to come stampeding back in, they need to feel FOMO. And in order for them to feel FOMO, we need our number of people entering the system to just be at a faster rate than people exiting. Because that's going to do what? It's going to make the chart go up, which is going to make people stampede in to trade the trend, and then we'll be able to get to the me level, and we're going to be able to multiply our volume, and then we're going to multiply our yield, and then we're going to get the fucking peg. And we're going to get the peg with everyone witnessing it. Does that make sense? And we'll be able to say the biggest I told you so ever in Web3 history. Okay, guys? The biggest I told you so ever. Yeah. Yep. I know. Doesn't saying I told you so feel good and not petty at all? For me, it'll be a little petty. But like, I'm motivated by the amount of people that doubt because they don't understand. And I was talking about it earlier during the roundtable, which is an internal circus meeting, and I said, guys, I was stressed out when we were first launching this project, and not everything that I decided for the design was a good move. Like, one, I wanted orange warning labels everywhere, so like people wouldn't fuck their money up and then come crying to me. And like, it didn't really matter other than the fact that people got too scared to do anything at all. Does that make sense? Garage, we might be closer than you think, because now we finally have the ball rolling, and then all it takes now is just keep pushing on it. We're gonna have multiple short form brands running in parallel. So I talked about this as well before. So today we just launched the first brand. The first brand is PYRESWAP itself. Does that make sense? Yeah, Garage. The way that Binance and of course Avalanche, right? Because by the way, I don't like that BSC and Avalanche are straggling, but you know what it is, Garage? I can't control what chain people end up on. The good news, the strong part of BSC is that it's the most well-known chain. Does that make sense? Right? BSC, it's like a top 5 chain, right? I think it's a rival of Solana right now. So that's going to be the chain that when we're marketing to people out in the world of short-form content, that's likely going to be the chain they're most likely to know in the first place. Does that make sense? So like, you know what I mean? Like, we're marketing on TikTok right now. So like, imagine it's gonna be BNB, especially if you consider that TikTok dominates in Asia, right? Avalanche, while better known than Phantom, has a higher gas fee. So this ends up with this like pro and con comparison. Does that make sense? But here's the good news. If we end up saturating Phantom, people will naturally shift over to Avalanche. People will naturally shift over to BNB. So I'm just gonna, Garage, we're just driving people into this Discord. Yeah, this Discord you're in right now. We are literally going to fucking drive them in from multiple short form content profiles through a link tree right into the Discord. Does that make sense? So when they come into this Discord, there's going to be a lot of people who have no idea what PYRESWAP is. And I'm literally putting my trust in the fucking user base to literally conversate with these people, answer their questions, and convert them into understanding the value and power that PYRESWAP has to offer them. Make sense? Because I'm not going to be able to do that. Yeah, like I'll be able to spend more time in Discord when I don't have to like literally make fucking short form happen by, you know, squeezing my teeth together. Does that make sense? Because right now I'm doing it like, it literally feels like I'm digging a tunnel with my teeth. It literally feels like I'm digging a tunnel with my teeth. But like right now we officially have the first thing rolling. There was nothing that should have been this hard. Yeah. You know what, Whisper, you're not wrong. And this, yeah. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly, Garage. That's literally the plan. Because Garage, I can't say that like, okay, for every 6 people that we get, 3 of you go to blue, 2 go to red, 1 go to yellow. It's not gonna work like that. People are gonna end up where they end up. All I'm gonna do is literally just stampede the gate and just let them decide. Does that make sense? So you're completely correct. Once Phantom like saturates, right, and people start seeing the proof of people will either see the proof on BNB or on Phantom, the belief will transfer over to the other chains. So even if AVAX has higher gas, they'll fucking justify it. Does that make sense? They'll be like, fuck it, yeah. At a certain point, it becomes worth it. So, sorry, I am so exhausted, and like my work is not even done here, but I want you guys to know that it feels like 1/3 of this is done because I'm gonna explain to you guys what we have going on now. So we're gonna do 3 brands, I think. This is the goal right now. Like, I'm gonna try to have all this happen in the next week, and I think it's possible. So brand number one, and this is just for content marketing. PYRESWAP itself. Does that make sense? PYRESWAP itself. Brand 2. Literally, we're probably going to call it Fiveonomics. Fiveonomics or Five Fan Club. Or some shit like this. Does that make sense? Or 5 clips. And this is a format that I see when you basically spin up like a derivative account that basically just reposts your content, posts other things like it. But guess what? Brand 2 is also going to funnel into PYRESWAP's link tree. Does that make sense? So it's all going to come back to this Discord. Do you guys understand what I'm saying? Yep, exactly. And you know what, Garage? I specifically, out of my own like hard-headedness, I wanted this to be as hard as possible for me because I wanted to prove how much better I am than everybody else. And I know that sounds so arrogant, but like most people would not launch a DEX on multiple chains at the same time. Most would not launch a project with 30 plus tokens, you know what I mean? Most would not build on Phantom right now when Phantom Foundation is leaving to launch Sonic, right? Most people would just launch on Solana and be like, hey, look at me, please, right? Or launch on Base, right? Solana and Base are the two popular chains. Yeah, not me. I will literally dig my heels in and just like fight as hard as I can right here. Yeah, and I'll prove it. I'll fucking prove it. Brand 1, Brand 2, 5 Economics, 5 Fan Club, 5 Clips. This is like I haven't picked a name yet here. Don't worry, don't matter. We'll worry about that on the fucking weekend. This is still days away. You know what, Garage, yeah. Everything about this works. The only thing that's required now is to make it go faster. And the only thing that's going to make it go faster is to increase the user base. We already proved it works. I don't have to persuade people to meet a Traj. I don't have to encourage people to play the IWV. They do it all on their own. And if they're willing to do that all on their own, we will get to peg. Does that make sense? Yeah. Exactly. But you get what I'm saying? If people are incentivized to do it all on their own, we will get to peg. The way that we get to peg faster is by getting more people with the idea in their head. Okay? And then Brand 3. Brand 3 is actually a quiz account. So there's a type of short form content out there which is like a multiple choice quiz, right? And like brand number 3, we could call it like Econ Quiz Master or some shit like that, or Econ Quiz HQ. And legitimately some name like this. And all this is that this is a short like ABC multiple choice quiz. Like it's 5 questions, right? And it basically says like what country has the highest population, right? You know, A, B, or C. And then it's like China, India, or like Brazil or something like that, right? And then it'll say like what country has the highest elevation, right? And all it is again like economic trivia. Does that make sense? It's like very superficial stuff. Like what company has the highest market cap, right? Like Nvidia, Oracle, Intel, right? Like some shit like that, right? And legitimately, people will literally do the quiz in their own head. Does that make sense? Just to figure out what the answers are at the end, and then legitimately from them doing that, we basically give them a call to action to check our link tree out, and then our link tree again goes right back to PYRESWAP. Does that make sense? This one is a really easy one to automate, by the way. So legitimately, we will have all 3 of these things happening, posting every single fucking day. Does that make sense? These accounts will post every single fucking day, and then it's like every single day we'll have new analytics, new eyeballs, new people showing up in Discord. We could have 100 people showing up in Discord every day. I'm not even joking. We can snowball to that. Once these 3 brands are firing automatically, and I don't have to physically be there to dig a tunnel with my teeth, I'm going to onboard 5 to 10 Twitter ambassadors. I know you guys in this chat, you've been seeing like multiple people say, hey, I want to be a Twitter ambassador. And I'm like, could you wait 1 minute? And I know Whisper and Trigger, these guys, they already quizzed the guy. And I literally I stopped and I was like, I would love to onboard this guy. I just need to focus on this right now because otherwise it'll never happen if I don't focus on it. And once I get these 3 brands going, then I'll onboard 5 to 10 Twitter ambassadors. So then what do we have? We'll have 3 short form brands. We'll have 5 to 10 Twitter ambassadors. Once all of those things are firing at the same time, if you guys don't know, we have a list of 800 YouTubers, maybe 900, 800 and 900 YouTubers in our emails. I will then personally go on like 50 interviews in a row, 50 interviews in like a month. I'm talking about like booking 3 to 4 interviews a day. Does that make sense? And then I'm going to go on so many YouTube interviews, all in like a singular block of time. We'll just be omnipresent. Does that make sense to you guys? We will literally just be omnipresent everywhere. And then we will never... I'm out of fucking breath. I haven't been running today. but I'm just out of breath. I'm excited. I'm fucking excited. Because I kind of don't know why this took so long. Like Well, Pega, I want you to know that in theory, I'm farther from blowing a fuse today than I was 2 days ago. Does that make sense? Like a week ago, I was doing some of the craziest stuff to make this happen. And by the way, I can't wait to tell that story. I can't wait. I was telling this to PYRESWAP the other day. You guys all know the origin story video, right? I think that at every phase of the roadmap of this project, there has to be another story concerning what it took to get there. So we'll have the origin story, then we'll have like the phase 1 story. And like the story alone of this project is truly amazing. I don't know if you guys know, I might have to physically go to places to, man, I can't even, this is such an adventure. I can't believe I signed up for this. It's so crazy and yet it all makes sense. Anyways, today's Wisdom Wednesday and I want you guys to know something, and it's about leverage, right? And I've talked about this system a lot. I'm gonna use green this time, forgive me for breaking from the color scheme. But if you guys know my system called INPTFWAR, INPTFWAR, what really are these things? These are 7 different fulcrums, right? These are sorry, is that 6 now or 7? So this is 7. These are fulcrums upon which leverage can be applied. Does that make sense? So when we talk about our inputs, our neurochemistry, I'm gonna write these out because I know some of you guys haven't heard them. These right here, if you guys can't read them, this says inputs, neurochem, and I can write this out for long yet, neurochemistry. Perspective, thoughts, feelings, words, actions, results. And what this means is that actions is really when things start like leaving your body. But I want you guys to know that these things, you can control them. And if you can control them, everywhere where you can find a little bit of way to get more optimized, you can massively optimize your results. You can massively change your results. So with inputs, this is everything from your diet to your sleep schedule, to the books you read, to who you surround yourself with, to the orderliness of your environment. Does that make sense? The music you listen to, what you look at, what you listen to, even things like the air you breathe, right? These are all sensory inputs or like system inputs, and they affect your neurochemistry. So for those of you who don't know, all of your neurotransmitters are actually made in your stomach, right? A lot of them are, at least. And the point being is your diet effectively is going to determine what your perspective is going to be. Your neurochemical makeup is going to determine what perspective you wake up with in the morning. Does that make sense? So whether you have a positive worldview or a negative worldview, the world you expect is the world you project. Does that make sense? So your perspective is kind of, it's subconscious towards thoughts. It's things like your underlying biases, your prejudices, your expectations about the world, or your worldview. That's what your perspective is. Your thoughts are like the thoughts that you're cognitively thinking, the things you're actually thinking about. What you think about multiplied by your perspective is going to end up creating your feelings. Now, some people say feelings might be above thoughts. In reality, all of these things are actually 3-dimensional, even 4-dimensional, and they all push up on top of each other. Does that make sense? The reason we line this out in 2D as an acronym is so you can help understand it first. Because if you can, once you're able to understand this, your thoughts will be superordinate to your feelings. Does that make sense? So once you can, in fact, instill the system in yourself, your thoughts will be superordinate to your feelings, which is great, by the way, because a lot of human beings, they don't even have thoughts. Does that make sense? They skip right through thoughts. They go right into feelings. the way you feel about stuff is gonna determine the words you use. And by the way, me learning about marketing in 2024, I realized that I needed to choose different words to talk about PYRESWAP. You guys saw the new benefit statements on the landing page, right? You guys saw the new benefit statements on the link tree. Words, just changing the words we use to talk about PYRESWAP and then putting those into action is going to change our results. Does that make sense to you guys? So I want you guys to understand, when I talk about these small things happening over time, they can massively leverage the results you get. Make sense? Massively, massively, massively. Yeah. I want the Discord that we're in right now, instead of it having 2,600 members, I want 26,000. I want 260,000. Does that make sense? Right? Like, that's how you saturate a fucking project with users. Does that make sense? Okay? Like, there's zero reason that our AGA system isn't able to scale to the point of us getting 100 new users a day. Make sense? It's not impossible. We're never going to stop marketing at this point. We're never going to stop marketing because our goal is to get into the top 100 market caps. So if we want to get into the top 100, we need to be marketing like it's our fucking job, because it is. Make sense? But the fact of the matter is that for those of you who remember the Reddit strategy, shout out to Pega, Reddit was all about leveraging small things. Does that make sense? Yeah, you leverage something small, but if you can make it consistent, you can get a massively different result. We did see that in the data for Reddit, but the consistency and the organization of it was a little bit beyond us. In the future, we can go back to Reddit and actually implement a strategy once we have more consistent resources or something like that. But in the short term, for short form content, which is the easiest to get new eyeballs, it had to involve me just digging a tunnel with my fucking teeth. And I realized what it took to get this far. Also, it's there to challenge the way I operate. I can see this now, because I'm not gonna get into that right now. That'll be part of the story later. Yeah, that'll be part of the story later. The PYRESWAP Phase 1 story. But anyways, so the point being is, when it comes to marketing, once you have consistency in your funnel, and I've talked about the funnel 97 times, I'm not going to talk about the funnel today. Once you have consistency in a process like this, you get massively different results, exponential different results over time. And it just requires consistency. Consistency of action. Consistency of action. Not consistent thinking, not consistent feeling, not consistent talking about it either. Consistency of action. And it just required so much to get, I'm going to lose my mind. Anyways, if you guys check out our Instagram or our Facebook or our TikTok right now, you'll see that we now have a post or two in a new style. It's a little bit higher quality. And we should now have a new video dropping roughly every 11 hours. I think these first 3 days might be a little rough, but after that, we'll just have posts dropping. We'll have 2 to 3 posts every day. Let's put it that way. And then these posts, the second one was already doing really well. Damn, I can't even talk about it. Yeah. Just from consistency alone, we'll get virality. And then from virality, we'll get awareness. And then from awareness, we'll get consideration. You guys get it. And this is what I wanted to talk about with Wisdom Wednesday. And we're just talking about leverage. And leverage, by the way, is really how anybody gets super rich in this world. Does that make sense? Whether it's like they invest on leverage or they organize on leverage or something like that. Anytime you want like a disproportionate result, like an exponential result, you have to find leverage points in the process where you can basically make extra dimensional money. And marketing is where that is. Does that make sense? Because hilariously, as we market, the results will get better and better exponentially too. Does that make sense? So even the results today, if like by the time we get like one person in the door in this Discord new from this system, it'll be even easier to get the second person. And then the third person and the fourth person, it'll multiply like Fibonacci. Does that make sense? And then that's how you create the stampede. That's how you create the fucking stampede that causes a chart to do something like this, right? You want a chart that looks like that, right? Right? Like that. Right? Is that what everybody wants? Me too. Me too. And arguably, once we even just have a certain amount of volume and or eyeballs, the chart will do all types of crazy shit. But you'll have even more proof that red candles can't kill it, and it'll be even more exciting to watch 2 ohm hit peg, right? Or dibs. Or any other peg coin you want. Any other peg coin. Yeah, anything you want, sweetie. Anything you want. It'll all just... The proof of concept will be undeniable. And some people, I realize, will still have no idea how any of this works or that I proved something useful. But I want you to know that this, again, the number one feature is that this is an ideological schism. And when I talk about ideological schisms, I want you guys to know that, like, PYRESWAP is Copernican in a world that is still Ptolemaic. Do you guys know what those words are? Do you guys know these words? The fuck you call me? Do you guys know what these words are? Yeah. Yeah, that's a good joke. Yeah. Do you know the name Ptolemy? The name Bartholomew, which we know to be more like regular, it means son of Ptolemy. That's what Bartholomew means. Isn't that funny? Anyways, do you guys know who Ptolemy was? Not the dynasty specifically, because there was several Ptolemies, but there was one that was a astronomer. Do you guys know about this? Anyone ever heard of Ptolemy? He was the guy that believed that the Earth was the center of the universe. Does that make sense? So, what the fuck is that called? Geocentrism, right? Make sense? Legitimately, Ptolemy was geocentrism. And Copernicus, yeah. What was Copernicus associated with? Anybody know? I feel like this is a pretty big hint. Pretty big hint. Copernico, yes. Yeah, do you know what the contrast word to geocentrism would be? Okay, I'll just write it on the board. Yeah. Heliocentrism. Next time you'll get it. Okay? But the point being is, Copernicus in the year 1533, I think, he basically proved heliocentrism. Does that make sense? He wrote it in a book called Revolutionibus, which he then dedicated to the Pope. I'm not going to get into the story of that, although that would make great short-form content, just me bitching about Galileo. But, oh, man. I feel good in, like, a way that do you guys ever know that feeling where, like, you for whatever reason, you work for 2 days and then you feel, like, elated? Do you guys know that feeling? Where, like, you feel like you're laughing because you've just been awake for too long? And I slept last night, but I really feel like what it took to get here was just it took so much focus on, like, it was literally just there to challenge me. That's how I have to view it, because I was able, you guys have no idea, I was able to get amazing developers to help build the craziest dApp in the world with relative ease. I can't even describe it. Like legitimately, we were getting attrition left and right, but, like, it's still not, yeah, like, I can't describe. Like, I was able to get people to, like, literally stress themselves out in the development of this project. And like, bravo to them, by the way. Yeah, I have so much admiration for my developers. But then, like, to have this happen, which I thought was, like, so simplistic, it was still, like, I don't know how to describe it. Like pulling teeth. Yeah, it's eventually. By the way, it's now going to be really easy to do. It's now going to be really, really easy to do. The more we do it, we'll be able to use templates and cloning and stuff like that. But it was still just so unnecessarily. Yeah, no big deal. No big deal. Anyways, so this project is literally like bringing heliocentrism into a world that is still Ptolemaic. Make sense? You know what? Cynical, but you know what? It's to be expected that you guys only care about yourselves. Does that make sense? And that's okay, because what motivates me is like this large adult responsibility of like taking care of all of DeFi investors. Because the way that I look at like the Web3 user base, it really looks like a bunch of children on amphetamines in a casino. Does that make sense to you guys? It legitimately is like, it's not even like a casino. It's like a bazaar where people are just like scamming their friend and stuff, and nobody understands like what's really happening. And it just looks so backwards to me. The only thing that I could do was motivate myself to build something that could arguably take all the same impulses that this same group of people have, but organize them in a way that doesn't fuck them up. Does that make sense? Do you guys get what I'm saying? Like legitimately, like something could be built for the Web3 user base that they want to get rich in Web3. Okay, let's just build something for that purpose. And that arguably means banking. Does that make sense? Right? It's like, what can you invest in that like allows you to remain liquid, right? I guess I realize that it still blows my mind that this is what it took to happen, because, okay, it's actually not that crazy. This infrastructure is made for banking. That's the way that I see it. That is the ideological rift here. And for this project to take as long as it has, it blows my mind that something so simple is taking this long to be introduced. At the same time, if I looked back at the last 2 fiscal quarters, it still blows my mind that it took this long to get consistent marketing happening. Does that make sense? This happened today. November 20th, we finally have consistent internal AGAs. Does that make sense? I can't even, we'll only get better at it in the next 2 weeks or so. And I swear we need to, we're going to make it. We're going to make it, you guys. It just, wow. Do you guys have any questions? Yeah, I feel good up here, but like, wow. Yeah, we're going to make it and we're going to scale it. So like, we just finally got the first... It still feels surreal for me to be saying this on camera, because I came up here for a month and a half and just told you guys it was coming. And you guys, like, if you watch the video right now, it's like it would have maybe 12 views or whatever, right? And you'd be like, I don't get it, Fi. It's like, you don't understand. We went from 0 to 1. It just like, we went from 0 to 1, and now it's going to move like a river. It's going to move like a river now. It's not just going to be like pushing a boulder. The boulder is going to roll down the hill now. Does that make sense? I had to roll the boulder up the hill, and now it's going to roll down the hill. And it's going to keep rolling. Yeah. Anyways. Yeah. Thank you, Cynical. Yeah, and now we scale. Does that make sense? Like, now that we have it happening, it's easier to clone, it's easier to teach, it's easier to replicate, it's easier to systemize, because now it's a system. Does that make sense? It's not just that we have marketing efforts, that we have a marketing system. And we're only going to layer on top of this, because we're only going to add more Twitter ambassadors, and then I might go on a fucking vacation first. I might go on like on a 7-day vacation. And then after that vacation, I'll go on 30 YouTube interviews in a row. Does that make sense? Right? But yeah, we finally have like the first stream of videos, and they're happening. And I still got to watch it for a few more days, because I don't know if you guys understand like the level of clench in my jaw. Like, I cannot look away from this until I know I can look away from it. Does that make sense? Thank you, Cynical. Thank you, Alessio. Yeah. Anyways, the videos are pretty. You'll see it. You'll see soon enough. Okay, guys. Do you guys have any questions? I'm gonna end it here. We're gonna be back for tomorrow for Thankful Thursday. I know I'm gonna be thankful as fuck tomorrow. I'm gonna be thankful as fuck. Doing more internal training on marketing tomorrow. If you're waiting for a DM from me, there's 20 people waiting. Okay, it's like 75 DMs I haven't answered yet. I promise I haven't been able to focus on Discord because I would love that. Yeah, I would love that. Yeah, I would love nothing more than for Jeff to take over the PYRESWAP show, personally. He understands most of it, too. Like, I think he could teach it, yeah. Legitimately, yeah. Yeah, like I find it's finally happening, and for some reason, there's still this disbelief that it's gonna get taken away from me, and like I have to keep my fucking hand around it. Does that make sense? Like it's just the level of control freakness about this is still really messing with my head, and like what it took to make this happen, which is not that hard, it still just blows my mind. But it was more about like lessons I had to learn, and it's still it makes me more powerful going forward, which means we can do more powerful things for PYRESWAP moving forward. I want you guys to know clearly, if you guys want to, in phase 5, own a fucking NFT credit card that has like a $200,000 limit, right? Is that something you guys also think about, right? Me personally, I do too. Yeah, the fact that we could even have NFT credit cards with 200,000 limits. Alessio, us making that happen also requires marketing. Does that make sense? So all of the phases of PYRESWAP, we now are going to always be able to market them. Does that make sense? Right? Because when phase 2 happens, it'll be like new events, new things. Does that make sense? So we'll never want to stop marketing this project. And there's always going to be this epoch-based calendar of events that'll always keep drawing people back in. Does that make sense? And hopefully, the project should be big enough where people end up becoming content creators all on their own just to cover like, PYRESWAP news. Does that make sense? That's really the goal, right? You guys know what I'm talking about? Where like XRP is so big that they have derivative people that are just like the XRP people. They're like, I'm one of the XRP guys, right? And like they're not, they're just like a aligned influencer. You guys know what I mean? Yeah. I guarantee you we'll get some of those for sure, right? And arguably Naldo will be one of those the more he learns. Anyways, I want to thank you guys for coming to the PYRESWAP show, and I want to thank you for your patience and consistency, and it's all going to pay off, and yeah, we're not going to quit, and we're not going to die, and we're going to win, because we're not going to quit, and we're not going to die. Make sense? Yeah, and we'll be just fine. Yeah, I want you to know, Pega, before I go on vacation, you guys will at least be able to see the chart looking way better than it is now. Does that make sense? The chart will look bullish, and that's when I go on vacation. The chart will look alive and bullish. And then I'll be like, okay, guys, you're happy for right now? All right, great. Don't talk to me for a week, right? And then I'm just going to go and, I don't know. I'm going to go stay at a monastery for a week. I'm not joking. Okay, thanks, guys, for coming to the PYRESWAP show. I'll see you tomorrow for Thankful Thursday.